My name's Scott Hunter, and I'm the Administrative Director of the Los Altos Village Association. I live in South San Jose. My commute is one long stretch down Highway 85. Yep. I would love to live locally, however, we've owned our home for 20 years and are happy where we are. My son goes to school down there. Personally, I don't know that I've had any thoughts on addressing the housing need in Los Altos. As I said, we've lived where we are, and coming to work here a year ago, it wasn't required that I really needed to live here. It would be great, but it's not something that I need to do. So I haven't really seen what firsthand as much about what is going on with housing requirements in Los Altos. Sure. So as merchants are looking for workers, it's tough to find them. One, there are a lot of jobs out there, which is great for the economy. However, people want to work where they live usually, and having folks to commute in to do that can be a problem. And then the high cost of living in anywhere in the Bay Area, but particularly here, can preclude workers, office workers and restaurant workers from actually living in the area.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, the Foundation Silicon Valley, and thank you to everyone who's hosting this event for having me. I'm honored to be here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sharif Etman. I am the Director of Administrative Services for the City of Los Altos. Administrative Services, I'm in charge of finances, HR, and IT. So I have many different hats. So I'm the Director of Finance, Director of IT, Director of HR. And so I wear many hats, I have many different roles. I've lived in the Bay Area for 15 years. I'm married, I have a 7-year-old. We live in South San Jose in the Blossom Hill area. I've been here 15 years, as I said. I was born and raised in LA, and believe it or not, I moved here to escape the traffic. So that's number one. So I go down to LA as a relief now, compared to the traffic that we have here. I am a renter in San Jose. I rent a house in San Jose. I pay a little over $3,000 a month for that house. It's a 40-year-old house that is literally falling apart. We have tried to move, and to move into a different house would cost about $4,000, $4,200 to get into a decent house. But because this house is 2 blocks from my son's school, we've decided to stay there. I am waiting for the starving executive program for housing. I have tried to do all that I have done to achieve the American dream. I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare management. I have an executive MBA through St. Mary's College. I have 15 years experience in nonprofit government. I've been a director for 10 years. I've worked for the County of San Mateo, the City of Los Altos, and the City of Campbell. However, I have come to the conclusion that I'm not going to buy a house in the Bay Area. I cannot ask grandma for $300,000. I cannot ask my uncle for $400,000 so I can compete with 30, 40, 50 different offers that are happening. So when I was offered the job and decided to take the job in Los Altos, living in San Jose, which was a 35-minute commute, it is now an hour and 25-minute commute. So I sat down at the dining room table with my wife and said, what can I do? This is an awesome opportunity. I really believe in Chris Jordan and the City of Los Altos, what we need to do. And we had that hard dining room table conversation. We weren't gonna move my son out of the school that we were in, and so I decided to buy a motorcycle to get to work. Life-changing decision to buy a motorcycle and weave through traffic to get to my job. But on the motorcycle, I can get to work in 35 minutes instead of an hour and 20 minutes. On the motorcycle, I can then get home, pick up my son from YMCA, and have dinner with my son, instead of sitting an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on a Thursday to get home. I live 17 miles away. 17. I don't live in Livermore. I don't live in Dublin. I don't live across the bridge. So I'm very passionate about this subject. We had the dining room table conversation. I sold my car. My wife sold her car. She got an electric hybrid. She got a Hyundai Sonata electric hybrid so she can use the carpool lane to pick up my son, and I bought a motorcycle. So lifestyle change just to get to my job, right? So the first piece is the 2 hats that I think I'm invited here to talk about is not only my personal story, but also talking about how I felt I've tried to achieve the American dream by getting an education, doing all that I can do for my family, and I still can't afford a house. So my message to the group is, and we've talked about this, if I can't afford a house, who can? How can the Ross employee afford a house? How can the Safeway employee afford a house? How can someone get here? And what Chris Jordan has told us, our city manager has told us, is, and he's told the executive team, is if you're working for a restaurant, how many restaurants are you gonna pass to get to your restaurant in Los Altos if you're living in San Jose before you say, you know what, I'm gonna work for a restaurant in San Jose? So my number one message is, if you can't get here, how are you gonna work here? You simply can't get here. So if you live 20, 30, 40 miles away, all of a sudden, where you live, where you apply, where you work is that much smaller. So I can't apply for a job in San Francisco. I can't apply for a job in Oakland. I can't apply for a job in a different spot. It's nearly impossible. So the first piece is, how do we get here? How are we going to employ folks here? And when I wear my director of finance hat, when we talk about the city of Los Altos, and you see cities talk and banter and argue and talk about BMRs and how many BMRs per unit we're going to have, the below market rate housing, and someone's going to come in and build 200 units, and we're going to have 3 BMRs. We're kidding ourselves if we think that's how we're going to solve this problem. So to allow a developer to come in and build 3 units, 5 units, 15 units, that's a below market rate, that's a drop in the bucket. We're not going to make an impact on all the people that we need to work and live in the Bay Area. So I'm not going to buy a house in the city of Los Altos for $3 million. I'm not going to buy a house in Mountain View. What we did in Los Altos, we took an employee survey and we looked at all the people that live in the area. And believe it or not, we have 130 employees. 3 employees live in Los Altos out of 133, and 16 live in Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Los Altos, and Palo Alto. So that means over 100 people do not live in any neighboring city. And that's a major issue that we have to tackle. Many of you have heard either myself talk or the mayor talk. The city of Los Altos last year, so now I'm transitioning into my director hat. We had 20 vacancies out of 130 positions. And the reason why was mainly because of the commute, trying to recruit people in this economy. Everyone has a job right now. We're at a 2% employment rate, so it's very hard to recruit and get people here. But what we've had is when you get into your first interview, you might have an interview at 11 o'clock and folks come and they interview. You then have an interview at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and that changes everything. So we've had at least 5, 6, or 7 people call and cancel their interview because they can't make it here. They say, I'm sorry, I have a 9 o'clock appointment, I'm coming from Morgan Hill, I can't get here, I'm not gonna get there on time, and I can't commute here every day, so please withdraw my name from the application, right? And that's happened time and time again, because people don't realize how bad that traffic is, how bad that commute is. So if they can't get here, how are they gonna work here? That's the message I want to be able to discuss. So it's not just a housing crisis, it's not just how are we gonna get people in houses or homes or different pieces, but what are we gonna do for us, for folks, in order to recruit and retain good people? Because if I don't have a motorcycle, or God forbid I get into an accident, which is very possible, I can't get to Los Altos, right? So I'm gonna have to wait, and the very next time a job comes up in San Jose, I might have to take that because I need to take care of my family and my son. So people cannot drive an hour and a half every day. They cannot drive 3 and 4 hours back and forth every day for 3, 4, 5 years straight. You're gonna lose people. You're gonna lose talent, you're gonna lose people, and they have to go somewhere else. So if they don't have ties in the Bay Area, you can go somewhere else. Believe it or not, Orange County is cheaper. A house in Newport Beach is cheaper than it is here, and that's unfortunate, and that's just part of the message. So you can hear my passion. One of the things that I joke about when I talk with my wife is I'm not allowed to watch House Hunters anymore. Because I will scream at the TV. Because on House Hunters, the house that they're looking for, the newlywed 22-year-old couple, we have cars outside in the parking lot that are more expensive than those houses, right? And so it's very frustrating. So we need help. We need to tackle this problem. I don't believe below market rate housing is the way to go. I think we need housing assistance. I think we need rental assistance. If I, as a director of human resources, can say, come to Los Altos, work for us. We have 10 apartment units downtown that we have at half the rate. So instead of paying $4,000, the city will pay $2,000, right? That's an incentive for folks to come. And believe it or not, $2,000 times 12 months, that's $24,000 to the city. That's nothing. Losing an employee is going to cost us much more than that. So I think we need to look at other ways to get us more housing and more pieces, because otherwise we're just piecemealing it. I think we're kidding ourselves. So I know you can hear my passion. I can go on forever, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me.